Welcome to the We Can Do It Women movement, where women 60 and wiser step into the spotlight and make the rest of their lives the best of their lives. I'm your host, Debra Morrison, a wealth building expert and champion for extraordinary women just like you. For over 47 years, I've helped women secure their financial futures, and now I'm on a mission to ignite a revolution showing the world that age 60, 70, and beyond, some of us are maybe a nickel slower, yet we're all just getting started. Today's We Can Do It Women expert interview features a fantastic and powerful duo, Gail Zelitzky and Catherine Marienau. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Indeed.
Good to be here.
Am I mispronouncing Marienau? No.
Marino.
Marino. I am. I certainly am. Sorry about that. Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate that. Well, I want to tell our audience a little about you, and then we want to get into some rich dialogue, and I'm hopeful that it will be very, very powerful, as I can't even imagine it won't, for our audience, in so much as you both are coming at some collaborative work from very, I think, kind of different perspectives. And so I want to highlight that just a little bit. Gail Zelitzky is coming to us as an accomplished business entrepreneur, coach, podcast host, and an advocate for women in business. Been a business owner since 1977. She started with a multi-state franchise operation, and then she followed that with a global catalog company and a disruptive e-commerce firm. Love that. Her career is marked by empowering women through entrepreneurship, leadership, and creative business strategies. She's launched 3 multi-million-dollar businesses. She's a business coach over 2 decades. She has been recognized as what she's calling a fast track coach. We're going to dig into that for women business owners, supporting clients, individual and in groups through growth, operational scaling, and leadership development. She's the founder of Gear Shift. We're going to dig into that, a company focused on coaching entrepreneurs for sustainable business growth. Now, she holds a Master of Arts in Applied Professional Studies, from DePaul University in 2015. And I think you were what, Gail, age 73 when you got that?
Something just like that.
Right there, with a focus on creativity and innovation in business, where she first met Catherine Marino, who would serve as Gail's faculty mentor. This doesn't get richer than this. This is amazing. So Catherine Marino is an educator and consultant. She focuses on neuroscience, learning, and women in aging. She's a professor emerita who has devoted her entire career to mentoring women and working in innovative adult education programs, best known for her work in adult learning and development, neuroscience and learning, and women's aging and ageism, which we're all fighting. She's authored or co-authored a book, Facilitating Learning with the Adult Brain in Mind. I love that play on words. It is amazing, and we're going to dig into that and some of the tenets thereon. And so these two have collaborated on a host of projects together, and they now co-host a podcast, over 300 episodes, called Women Over 70, Aging Reimagined. They launched it in 2019. I don't know who wants to go first, but talk to us about how you really, obviously, you met each other, you're working together, you bonded, you had some very interesting similarities with regard to mission, and you're coming at it from a little bit different angles. How did, who dropped the first question? Hey, how can we, further this beyond me being your faculty mentor? Who wants to take the lead?
Get away, Gail.
That would be me.
Okay.
Yes. So Women Over 70 was born in 2019. And it was about 2016, after I graduated. As you said, Catherine was my terrific faculty mentor. And we started to have dinners together and talk about life and talk about, what we wanted to do in the future and all. And I had become very enamored of podcasts because of my son, who was a podcaster. And he was running conventions and all. And I said to myself, I have to do this. And so one night at dinner, by the way, I used to think I was the only one that she was having dinner with. No, 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 no. She did this with all her graduates.
Love that.
Yeah. Anyway, so one night at dinner, I said to her, I'm planning to do a podcast, and I want to interview 70 women over 70. And so we talked about it a little bit, a very little bit, really. And Catherine, what did you say?
Well, I said, well, I want to do that too. I was just getting ready. I was thinking about retiring from my full-time faculty position. And I wanted to be doing something that was really meaningful. I'd always been teaching women's issues and doing research around about women, and I love doing interviewing, qualitative research. So I didn't know what a podcast was really, but I thought, well, if I can do all those things, then I want to do this too. So I think I invited myself.
And so took a little while, but we launched it. We decided 70 interviews was never going to be enough. And we formed Women Over 70, Aging Reimagined. And we interview women 70, the oldest is 110.
I saw that. What in the heck? That is so amazing.
And they're all, it was our intention to do a weekly podcast for older women. And so they share their stories. We interview them, but we really want to hear their stories. So we share their stories of courage and creativity and all kinds of ways that they are, we celebrate their wisdom and their resilience and their lifelong contributions. And we're very excited over the way that this has turned out. 6 years later, actually, we're in the 350s now for the number of podcasts, and we get to meet the most inspiring women, innovators, leaders, people just like you talk about, Deborah.
I'm all ears. I tell you, I'm 69, so like I'll just press my nose against the plexiglass for a year.
We'll
Um,
be waiting for
I'll
you.
be waining. Yes, right.
You bet. So talk to me about how, when you're engaging with these women in the interviews and teasing their stories, how I suspect they're still eager to be to continue to learn, right? I mean, especially with neuroscience and neuroplasticity, Catherine, the world has to be their oyster, right?
It is. And we always have one of us will have a pre-interview conversation so we hear, we might hear an hour's worth or 2 hours worth of story, which we then have to figure out how we're going to put that into a 30-minute episode. But yes, learning is one of what we've identified 6 the qualities that sort of cut across all of our women. Learning is right there at the top. Always incredibly curious, always learning about something new or reclaiming what they were once interested in and it got put on the shelf and now they're back to it. They're going deeper, wider, just adding so much to their repertoire.
Yeah.
And it's been my experience. I mean, when older women, when I grow old, I shall wear purple, right? And people, I mean, one of the tenets of facilitating learning with the adult brain and mind, like Catherine's book, is about feelings and emotions being essential. And I think I would like to hear you talk about maybe some stories from various women that you've interviewed where they're just kind of like now, like, yeah, that's how I feel. And I'm going to own it. And I'm going to move through the negative stuff and into the positive stuff. Talk to us about how women have re-engaged, perhaps at a later age. Perhaps it's been tamped down. They had other responsibilities. They had to be outwardly focused. How they've come home to their own feelings and emotions and how they've integrated that into their process in this next chapter.
Well, one of the women that I think is making a lot of contribution to the world right now is an 84-year-old woman who we featured as an advocate. We have 2 series. We have the Women Over 70, and then we have the Advocate series, who are women of any age. So 69, you could be on our show already.
All right.
And they have something to contribute to the learning of all of our listeners. This particular woman, Susan Bauer, she was a writer, a psychologist, a historian, and then she decided that she really loved turtles. I suppose she didn't just decide that, but she really loved turtles. And so her father used to tell her stories about what she considered to be worlds other than her own. And so going into the way turtles live and the ponds that they live in, that was her way of getting into another world. And she did that. And what she started to do was to dive into ponds. Now remember, she's 84 years old. She decided to dive into ponds and to clear out all the debris, like bicycles and tires and trash and all of that, so that the turtles could have a good place to live, a clean place to live.
Right
And
now.
so she loved doing that so much that she gathered together a whole group of women, 64 to 84, and now they clean ponds everywhere.
Oh, that is so impressive. I can't even maybe they have some golf balls in there. That's so
I'm
good.
sure they do.
I mean, I'm a scuba diver, and if you dive into a pond that's not that deep, I mean, the visibility is, pretty bad even without the bicycles. Amazing
Right,
story.
right.
So Catherine, how about a story that comes to your mind in terms of a woman maybe, moving through some adult anxiety and coming out on the other side and freeing herself?
Yes, well, it's hard to choose just one, but one of my favorites is actually, she was a colleague of mine at DePaul. Her name was Gretchen, and she was an educator for many, many years, tenured and uh, very involved in equality in education, and to worked in the schools for many years. A couple things happened. She got a Fulbright and she went to Jamaica, and when she was there, she learned about the indigenous group called they live in a Kongpong, and they're descendants of escaped slaves, and they fought off the British, and they are a sovereign nation or a sovereign unit within Jamaica. So they have their own laws, their own governance, their own pretty much everything. She fell in love with that culture in Jamaica and returned another year, and then fell in love with a man from there. And she decided we were offered early buyouts at DePaul, and um, she certainly decided to take that. But before that, she'd been divorced after many, many years. She had cancer, a very aggressive cancer that she actually has been moved through very nicely. Her new lover died suddenly, and I think she just said, "What am I doing? I need to live life the way I want to be living life." And so she moved permanently to a Kongpong in Jamaica, up in the mountains. And she's the only white person who lives in the village. And she is very much engaged in village life. She's started a foundation to help with economic development within the community, and there's many medicinal herbs growing wild. They're just everywhere. So
Yes.
they're working to harvest those, and then they'll eventually be distributing those. And they're starting with tea. There's many different variations of tea, and she's writing a book now about her immersion into a culture that is so completely different from what we're used to in our Western society here. And um, she's there. She's been there for almost 6 years now.
Oh my gosh.
It's
What a story. You see, these are such pioneers. And when society kind of shuffles some of us off to the side as we age, right? These are such poignant examples of, like, we come right back into the spotlight and figure out what it is that's going to light us up. Talk to me a little bit about the neurobiological discoveries that women are making as they age. I love neuroplasticity. I read a little bit about it. I love Dr. Tara Schwartz and a bunch of writers, and the whole, and the fact that you're NLP trainer, Catherine. I'll get to you in a second, Gail. I'm coming right back, sweetheart.
I'm not worried.
Talk to us about the NLP and the whole neurobiological discovery chapter, if you will.
Well, I'll try. One of the myths that is out there about women, about older people in general and women, is that we are just going into cognitive decline.
Oh, exactly.
Okay, so that is a myth. That is not the case. And so one thing that we've learned, and we've interviewed several authorities on this too, us in our podcast, is that brains, as you mentioned plasticity, brains continue to change. They develop, and we Luann Brizendine wrote a wonderful book about the upgrade of the brain's capacity among women, that our brains get better
Yes.
because we are really good, and generally speaking, at making connections
Yes.
and reflecting. And so we might not have the same the speed of that we used to have, but we are really good at making connections among things that don't always seem like they are that connected. And we are owning, as you said, Deborah, our emotions. So we are proud of the emotional intelligences that we have, and that we're not buying into that notion that women are overly emotional and all of that. That's not true. We know that the world runs on emotion. And so we're trying to get the right kind of emotion into the causes and the way we live our lives, the decisions that we make.
I was going to say, how many decisions are based on emotion? I mean, buying decisions for one. I studied a little bit about some of the male and female anatomical differences in our brain and the woman's ability for that neuron chit chat, right? Oh, maybe this or maybe that. Oh, how about this and how about that? It's this kind of coordinating ability that we possess, I think, anatomically. And then, of course, our lifestyle and the way in which we've been socialized to be the person that keeps things together, typically the biological family, if you will, but the whole aspect of interweaving points of view and eventualities and choices. I'm really intrigued with it. And I am intrigued with the wisdom that we can get as younger women from our pioneer moms and aunts and forebears. So I'm all over this, and I'm going to be reading your book. When I saw the title of your book, it's just like, oh my gosh, with the adult brain in mind. Hello, that was amazing. So I love that.
Be
Now,
happy to send you a copy.
oh my gosh, that would be delightful. I was going to say, should I go on Amazon or your website or wherever?
Well, you could, but I'll make arrangements.
Thank you. So, Gail, let's switch to how women make decisions in terms of business and driving revenue and so forth. You're obviously an entrepreneurial woman yourself, and building businesses, and I would suspect teaching women how to build businesses or further monetize their businesses. Talk to us about how you may have to bring in your skill set to up level women's business acumen.
Well, are we talking about the podcast, or are we talking about in general?
No, I think just in general, but you can interweave the podcast. Go for it.
Well, in general, yes, I've been doing this for many, many, many years, 27 years, and have been an entrepreneur myself all of these years. And so building business requires strategic planning. It requires thinking about it. It requires knowing who your community is. It requires being creative and innovative and resilient and going with the punches. And most of all, it requires having enough capital to make it through the ups and downs of the business. That's right. You got it right there. You
Oh my
know.
gosh. I'm sorry, I gotta interrupt you because like I was on a board of directors with a Christian, well, it's kind of a non-denominational camp. We're on the finance committee, right? So we're all talking about the budget. And we had this little short nun. And I think her name was Mary. And she pounds the table. I thought we were gonna all just drop our teeth. It's just like, without margin, there's no mission. And the whole place was just like, okay, we're raising our fees. It was so good. So I apologize for just butting in there, but boy, without the margin, we have no mission.
Well, of course, right.
Sorry.
When I was younger, I didn't think I was good at math. And then I got into business. And I began to work with profit and margins and net profit, right? Gross profit, net profit, and all. And I found that, yeah, I was good with math.
Of course
I
you are.
understood this whole concept. I could work with it. And so that is one of the things that I really worked with business owners, women business owners primarily on, men too in earlier years, but more recently with women, and helping them understand the finance, the monies behind making a business grow and how you have to think about it. You can't just do something because it feels good, talking about emotions, or
Exactly.
because you want to. You have to think about all the different sides of yeah. It happened that I was at a tech nexus meeting last night,
Oh, wow.
and they were pitching. They were having pitches, and it was all in the sports field.
Okay.
And so these were young entrepreneurs who were starting businesses, who were talking to people who already were very successful in business. And so it was fascinating to hear some of the questions that came. Uh, how do you think you're going to be able to carry on with this? How much capital do you have when you start? Who are your customers? How are you making yourself meaningful to them? How, and of course, a lot of AI and a
Yeah,
lot of, a lot of all of that, which we didn't have in the years that I was most active coaching women.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about in your book, Sales Simplified: Tools, Techniques, and Tips to Increase Revenue. You're talking so much about trust, right? Building trust
Mhm.
with the buyer, understanding the
Absolutely.
customer's need. And I was researching you, and I just like was thinking to myself, yeah, that's basic, and yet it's not basic, right? I mean, it's basic and yet it's integral, right? And so
Mhm.
I did just the analogy, because I'm kind of like known as the queen of analogies, but I just had the analogy that pop into my head, like none of us go into the grocery store with a cart and just meaningful, without
Meaningless.
yeah, just meander through the aisles. We just go to the first aisle and we put things on into our cart because it's the first aisle. No, no, we need to know what it is we're looking to buy, build, eat, develop, etc., and then
Okay.
work backwards and reverse engineer it. So talk to us about how maybe women that haven't started a business before, you give them those kind of framework ideas so that they can build it and do it right the first time.
Well, let's take women over 70 as an
You
example,
could use me as an
right?
example.
And well, when I'm thinking of is that when we started this business, we had very intentional ideas
Right.
about what we wanted it to be, who we wanted to include, what our values were surrounding the business. We knew that inclusivity, intergenerational connections, social justice, gender equity, these were the areas that we were most interested in and wanted to make sure that our guests reflected that. So, who do you think our community is? Like-minded people.
Right now.
And so that's one of the reasons that we're successful at this.
Mhm. So, Catherine, chime in here. Why are you kind of volunteering yourself?
Because, well, I worked, in academia for 50 plus years, still there. And I got to do what I loved, and then I got a paycheck. So I didn't have to. The work I did was very entrepreneurial, but I always had a steady paycheck until I didn't. And then, so I came into the Women Over 70 enterprise with full of purpose and cause and interest and all of that. And Gail kept saying, we are a business, Like, oh well, she can, I don't worry about that. Well, she's coached me. I get it now that we are a business, and if we want to um, continue to grow and to have impact, then we have the monetize. That's a word I've learned. We have to monetize.
This is so critical. I happen to be partnered with a woman for 16 and a half years, and she was a college professor, and she got her paycheck, and I was an entrepreneur, and I didn't. And there was quite a I mean, we were in life partnership, so there was a lot of synchronicity, but there was a real difference between the understanding of risk taking and, quantifying risk and measuring and so forth. So this I would have loved to have been a little fly on the wall
Yeah.
during.
I mean, I could take risks in creating new programs and, serving new populations. And some worked really well and some didn't.
And you still got paid.
I still got paid.
Okay.
I learned business from my father.
Okay. I was going to say, where did it start? Go for it.
Yeah, I learned business from my father, and I went into business with him because I was a divorced mother of 3 children, one of them who had mental illness.
Okay.
And so I needed a job that was flexible. Who else but my father would say, yes, take time off if you need to. Go where you need to go.
Yeah.
So I joined him. I always liked the business. He would talk about it over. But what he did was he was the most creative man I ever met. He was he created franchising when there was no franchising. He took a group of 11 independent retail mom and pop liquor stores
Okay.
who all decided they didn't want to spend the rest of their lives doing what they were doing the way that they were doing it. And they became a franchise. Foremost liquor stores, pay less, get more at your foremost liquor store. And so he stayed out of the liquor business and the others owned the stores. So he didn't have a license, which meant that he could work with distillers and wineries and breweries and everybody else. And he could create a co-op advertising program and it would all be legal. And so we did all of those things for the stores, and we literally changed the trajectory of their lives. They became multimillionaires, and their stores were written up about all over the world. Literally, we had a contingent of Japanese business people who came to understand what it was that we were doing. And so that's where I learned it all. He was my PhD.
Yeah. I should say.
Yeah, yeah,
How rich was that? Oh, that is
totally.
I know when I read about the franchising, I was kind of like, oh, what franchise was she in? You freaking made your own. Your dad made his own. Good.
And
Nice.
I became president and CEO of the company and ran it for 17 years.
Okay, so for every listener out there that has been told or somehow imbibed or like through osmosis or some damn way, got this message, not good at math. Just get rid of that. In
That's
the
right.
rear view mirror, right? We are good at math. Women are so hardwired towards common sense, in my humble. And so when I'm talking with women about building wealth, it's about imagining that, women have the same, I think like finance over here on a silo. I was raised on a farm. Finance over here on a silo, but the rest of our lives is all common sense. I always say if you welcomed back to the dinner table the same number of kids you put on the bus in the morning, you're in management, right? So women can do management, women can do things and accomplish a lot. And somehow when they bridge into or get close to money, they're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I lost $2,000 20 years ago and I've never looked back. What the hey, let's move into our freedom, and money doesn't buy happiness. Also, be no divorce really around money issues, but money certainly buys options. And so I so applaud you for taking and being in the helm of your dad's business and running the financial part of it and learning all of this intuitive about finding out what the people want and being congruent with that. And I can't imagine that it's not been really fruitful in the podcast. So talk to us about Catherine, talk to us about how your work emphasizes a lot of embodied learning. Talk to us about how you incorporate movement and metaphor and so forth into the learning environment.
Well, the All the programs I've worked in for my entire professional life have been very much oriented to learning from and through experience. So it's how do we learn from experience? It's through our whole selves, our body, our mind, our spirit, all of that. And so that's what the programs that I've worked in help people bring to understand what learning is about, how learning happens, and that when we're in a classroom, we we sit in circles. We have people engage in activity. We have them learn as much with each other as not the instructor. Of course, we know something, but it's very much that we are a learning system, and we're not just learning from here up.
Like that.
And that's where my other colleague, Kathleen, and I have done a lot of work around it's the affective neuroscience, the role of emotion and in learning. And, when you're especially, you don't have to get that old before you're taught, you have to be rational and critical and all of that. And so you're not supposed to let your own interpretations color things, right?
Right.
So the programs I've worked with just turn that upside down and say, well, how are you supposed to make meaning if you don't bring yourself into the situation, your body, your mind, your experience? So that's I think I'm going to go back all the way back to my one-room country schoolhouse, because I think I was into that little one-room country schoolhouse for 6 years, and we were a huge class, my grade, because there were 4 of us. And but what I gained from that experience, I think, is I brought to my work with in higher education, because it was always individualized. Always, what are the gifts that each person is bringing? How can they capitalize on those? Let's start with your assets. We'll fill in the gaps as you go along. And that's how country school was, basically. And the other thing was, you just have to learn to play well with other people. Otherwise, you don't get to go to recess. I mean, so it's really very basic kinds of things. And so play is part of that embodied learning. Let's be playful with learning. It doesn't have to be such a god awful serious business.
Yeah. Well, I
now you got me started. Okay, so there.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, I was raised on a farm, but in a rural environment, but I went to a rural school. My dad, though, went to a little one-room schoolhouse. So this whole aspect now that we're learning more and more about in terms of our brain, the importance of our brain, the importance of gratitude, and the importance of shaping and imagining what it is that we're looking to do, and that the brain can really take us, through a lot of what would be otherwise obstacles that stop us. Talk to us about how you enlighten women about, it matters what you think. Your thinking drives your results, right? So what kind of programming do you kind of take them through, or maybe deprogramming that, oh, well, what they say, that little self chatter box is, oh, you're terrible. Oh, I knew you couldn't do it. I mean, this stuff has to be like put in our rear view, does it not?
It does, but I don't think that we're training anybody, because of as Gail said, we're reaching like-minded women. They're creative. They have a lot of courage. They are role models in so many different ways. So they are the ones who are the models for other people. Yes. We're the conduit. We're the vehicle for that.
Okay. So that's a curious thing. So you're not really attracting people that come to you that are otherwise talented out the nostrils, and yet, like, I get clients all the time, smart as a whip, but they just don't know money. They don't know finance. So you don't encounter people that have self-defeating behavior in some facet of their life that you can help them push through.
Well, many of them have very rich and often hardship stories growing
Okay.
up.
Okay.
They've been through a lot. They've been through divorce. They've been through illness and death, and all of the awful things that happen as people go through life. What their stories tell us is how they have coped and gone beyond surviving, and now they can say, I'm thriving. And it's not Pollyannish. It's very much based on how they have life lessons that they've gained along the way. And so those are the stories, that's the message. Gail and I just try to help people. I just spent 3 hours today talking to one of my sister's neighbors because we're going to interview her. And I learned her life story starting from when she was born as a premature baby. That's unusual to spend 3 hours, but we do spend a lot of time
Mhm.
getting to know someone as best we can so that we can help them shape their story in a way that they're talking about what's most important to them and that we think is going to resonate with our listeners.
Mhm.
And, it's a 30-minute podcast. So to put a person's whole life into 30 minutes is no easy task. And we are so inspired by the women we interview that every time, practically every time we're through and we just have a little recap at the end, we say to each other, wasn't she fabulous? Oh my goodness, can you believe how she is? Wow. Oh my gosh. So we think of it almost as giving someone an opportunity to share their legacy, to talk about their story. We don't interrupt them much. We just let them talk. 30 minutes of whoever it is we're interviewing talking about themselves and the contributions they've made to the world, and the compassion they have, and the communities they built, and the creativity. And yeah, we wouldn't be doing this
Yeah.
for 6 years if it wasn't that we kind of get off on it. It's
Yeah,
just,
we do.
yeah, we do.
We do. But again, about the being 30 minutes, so we don't script the 30-minute conversation, but we do think it's incredibly important to spend that time ahead beforehand, getting to know the person and kind of find out what is really important to them. What are the themes that we want to help them bring out in that 30 minutes? So, so yeah, it's their story. We also come up with some suggested talking points just to keep us on track.
Nice.
Yeah, and
Well,
so
on
they
that,
have input into all of that before we, actually do the interview.
perfect. Yeah. And I do apologize for interrupting you, Cold, to Gail, like a couple minutes ago. Um, on the theme of themes, talk to us, Gail, about the Wonder Women Mastermind Club. This is amazing.
Well, so in my entire coaching career, I have always had group coaching, just groups.
Yeah.
And I love groups because I love how people feed off of each other and what they learn from each other. So when COVID started, I thought, well, now what am I going to do? We can't, because we always met in person. We can't meet in person anymore and all. So I decided to just simply go online and start having Zoom conversations with I always called them Wonder Women, with the Wonder Women. And so I've been doing that for quite a few years now. And we have a nice group that comes once a month, and it's open to anybody who might like to be a part of this. And we meet and we share resources and we talk about business and we talk about all the issues that we're having, much like Catherine's and my Aging Reimagined circle that we created for women over 70.
Okay. Okay. Sounds a
Mhm.
little like this group meeting, though, is more hands-on and interactive. Obviously, you're a guest for 30 minutes and so forth. But so the mastermind group, literally, so you all come with issues or not just a gab session, you're talking about, okay, hey, how do you do this? Or how do you do that? Or I came across this. Is that
So I always build a topic for us to entertain each time we meet. And 3 questions. And those questions change all the time. What are you thinking about today? What's your biggest issue today? Have you thought about AI? Have three questions. And then we have a discussion around it, an open discussion. And once every quarter, we highlight one of the women's businesses, and she gets to have 20 minutes so she can really talk about it, and we can give her a little extra love. Yeah.
so how many people do you have in these masterminds?
So we like to keep it to about 15.
That's
Yeah.
a great number.
Yeah. Yeah. 15, because too many and you can't talk enough. And
Right.
there's always someone who can't come. And so, so it makes for a nice conversation with a smaller group.
Right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
You're known for having 3 tenets for success, Gail. Create, communicate, and collaborate. Talk to us about how you came to that.
Well, businesses have to be innovative. They have to constantly be changing, offering something new. Otherwise you're the kid lost on the block. If you have to bring attention to yourself, otherwise it doesn't work. And connecting is just all important. The relationships you build, what groups you go to, what's in your mind when you're going to those groups. How do you connect and make it worthwhile? And what was the other one I said?
Create, communicate, and collaborate.
So communicate, collaborate, connect.
It's all the same. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Exactly right. Yes, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but we built Aging Reimagined Circle, which is our membership sustaining fund,
Right.
because we knew that one of the ways for us to build our community would be to have an opportunity for our community to meet with us, to meet with each other, to get to know each other. And so we run monthly educational programs online. They're interactive. They are never recorded. They are strictly for the people who want to get to know more of the community. And they're really they're really great meetings. Catherine, who are some of the people we have coming up?
Wanted to mention somebody that we had very recently, which is a woman who, at age 67, transitioned from male to female. And
Mhm.
she has decided to be very public and bold about her experience because she's so, very concerned about not just the whole climate for transgender people, and that how important it is for people to understand that journey. And
Mhm.
so she's remarkable, and she has teamed up with another person. Now they have a podcast called Demystifying the Transgender Journey for people who are not transgender. So the rest others who
Mhm.
um, would benefit from understanding more about that. So she's recent, and she did an Aging Reimagined Circle group with us, which was fabulous. We just had somebody who's an attorney who's been working with the Equal Rights Amendment for years, and she brought us up to date on what is the real status of the Equal Rights Amendment and some of the misconceptions and what we need to be doing to keep this out in the public awareness and be ready to pounce when it's time to get that thing in the public record. And we have coming up a woman who's a gerontologist who's been doing a lot of research around the brain and the cognition, and to the extent to which what is sort of normal memory changes in memory versus when might we be in some kind of decline? How do we notice how we tell the difference? And she's very involved in the very popular notion now about health span, increasing your health span, the years that you can live without major dependence on medicine or intervention. So she's going to be leading a piece on that. And then we have somebody in October who's going to be talking with us about more of the spiritual aspects of aging and how we are, we develop, many of us become much more interested in our spirit and our spiritual development. And she's a gerontologist also. Yeah. And so sometimes we have people like Sally or Lydia who are really experts lead us through a conversation. Other times it's more of a topic like, well, what's it like to be parenting adult children? So we're all experts on that. Many of us are, or we have experience. I won't say we're experts. We have experience doing that. And so it's just, people are remarkably authentic and revealing and respectful of each other, and seem to just genuinely enjoy being in each other's presence, Zoom presence.
Right.
Yeah.
I would like either of you to talk with me about, and our audience about, to me, it feels like we're in a very critical time politically with regard to our republic and the rights and the privileges that we have come to take for granted. And how you maybe invite women who heretofore have not involved themselves at all in politics, like, well, I'm not political, and I'm like totally banging the drum, like the personal is political, and so I'm here to take a stand for women, and I highlight to our group the legislation that defies women and steps on women's necks and abuses women. And so it's incumbent upon us, I think, to change our mindset about I'll let someone else do the politics. I think it's wise for us to be in here and speaking our voices and taking our stand for women, because forget that, I mean, that's first and foremost, I think, and then trans and LGBT and so forth and so on. So talk to me about, do you encounter women who have heretofore not been politically active at all and now are saying, wow, this is too important not to be taking our stand?
We, as I said earlier, that our constituency is very much like us in the fact that we're all concerned about social justice. We're activists in one way or another, and especially women's rights and women's causes and gender equity of all kinds. And so we don't attack politics per se in the podcast, but you just can't help getting into some of those conversations.
So, we've had a good number of women who've been, as Gail said, activists from way back, many, many decades, for reproductive rights and civil rights and all of the important social causes. And what is I find interesting is how not that they're still very engaged, but they're using different strategies now. They're not necessarily the ones who are, although Gail does, out marching or protesting, so they're adapting to what they are able to do. And so a friend of mine is one when we interviewed uses a walker, so she can't. It's not easy for her to go out and protest, but she writes about 15 postcards a day. And so it's really helping us learn that there's many different ways to be engaged politically. And I think, given what's going on in our country now, more of our guests are going to be speaking out more
More and more
about that, and we encourage that.
Yeah. Right. I think that role modeling is a big center for the way that we feel about women over 70, that the podcast and the community and all, and that we don't try, the people who come on that we interview are role models themselves. And so you know, they're talking about all of the way they've lived their lives, and much of what we're discussing right now is the way they've lived their lives. And we don't tell them to or not to.
Right.
We simply invite them to tell their truths.
You know, one of the areas I was thinking about, many of our guests increasingly seem to be writing memoirs. We're at that age, that stage.
Yeah.
And some of them are like really coming of age at a later age stories. They've been through tremendous hardships. But one of the areas that women are talking about much more openly than ever before is about being sexual beings.
Mhm.
So
Right.
some of these taboo topics that, you don't talk about religion, you don't talk about finances, you don't talk about sex. Well, our women definitely want to talk about sex, and they want to talk about, what does it mean? What does it look like? What does it feel like in these later decades? And what if you're not with a partner? What if you're a single person? What do you do? So that's an area that we're both quite committed to. Let's get that conversation out there.
Right.
Yeah.
It is, and the disparity between women being, sexual objects and so forth, and yet us being able to come home, if you will, to our own sexuality rather than being objectified, right? Uh,
Yes, exactly.
you look good for your age. No, how about you look good? Right. And so
Exactly.
we're all in this to fight the ageism that is so prevalent. Go ahead, Gail.
Yeah, I was just going to say that about ageism. And so, and the fact is that women are not supposed to have sex after 60, or you've been married once, what do you need to think about sex for? Or what do you mean you can't exercise like you used to, or go out in the world like you used to? And so, ageism itself is something we're both very concerned about, and we're part of the movement to eradicate ageism, and life would be so much better if there wasn't any. And so a lot of the conversations that we have are about how we do things differently so that we can keep going. We keep moving on. We don't stop. We don't have to stop just because we're 70 or 80 or 90 or 99, like Gerda Meyer Bernstein, who was just a tremendous artist doing art about the Holocaust and about World War II, and the atrocities that were in life at that point, having come from Germany. And so these are the kinds of stories that help eradicate thinking that just because you're a certain age, no, you can't do that anymore. And if we could get doctors to stop thinking that way, we would be a whole lot better off.
I can't agree more, Gail. And the doctors and all of society to shift the focus from what is the aging population costing us to what are they contributing to us? And you are
Yes,
out there
yay.
championing,
Yeah.
women coming into their own and building in businesses and being in community and contributing back. And I mean, there's going to be a dearth of workers, and I hope that corporations don't take that long to figure out that older employees and consultants, they don't miss work. They're pretty patient. They've gone around the block 4 or 5 times, and
Right.
they're profitable.
Yeah.
So it's this modeling that I applaud both of you for doing and for engendering that in your respective groups, and then in the groups that you attract together. If you were to wave a magic wand, what would you like to see as the achievements for your women, your peeps, in the next year or two? I mean, do you have some ideals that you're hoping they'll strive for, or that you want to stretch yourselves towards? Let's hear about what's next for you.
One of the things that's next for us is we have a book contract. So we are working on that, and we are showcasing the stories of our guests, and we are framing that around what we call the essential 6 C's, because we say that every woman has her own story. Her story is unique. At the same time, when we really did a thematic analysis of about 300 plus episodes, we do you want to hear this? What we found was community. They are in community, as Gail had said, was a key to success in business. It's key to being in life. That they are always learning. They're curious, so they're always learning. That they have courage, because it takes courage to be older, to get older. It takes courage to act on your values and your commitments, and to speak up and speak out, show up. They're always contributing. How can I contribute? And a lot of people talk about that as purpose. But in what ways am I making a difference, however large or small? And how am I expressing my creativity? And it's not just in the arts, it's in how you design your life, the creative ways that you approach living, and then compassion, always showing compassion for yourself included. I think that's one lesson that older women have learned, is that we need to be very kind to ourselves, to have a lot of self-compassion. And of course, to others as well. But so those are the themes, the qualities that we're featuring in this book that we're working on. So where will that take us? Well, as one woman we talked to said, "Well, I'm too old for fame," and but maybe we're not too old for fame.
And I'd like to mention, before we end, our symposium. This is our second annual symposium that we're running on October 8th, and it will be in LaGrange Park, Illinois, at Plymouth Place, a beautiful facility for older adults. And this is the second time. We will have 5 speakers, and the most exciting thing of all is that Judy Collins, the famed singer-songwriter, pianist, she is going to be our keynote speaker. So we want all of you listening to come.
I'm very happy to have you promote that in our group. Please join our group, We Can Do It Women Facebook group. And every Friday we have Features Friday features, and every woman can put on what's coming up for them. So put that on right now so we can get it right on our calendars, and people that can attend in person and people that can attend online. Love to support you. Now, I just want to circle back one nickel, Catherine, to the 6 C's. My pen wasn't ready. I have community, courage, contributions, creativity, and compassion. What did I miss?
Curiosity.
There you go.
Lifelong learners.
Yes.
Those are such great tenets, and I am really happy to have you drop those gems here, especially even at the end. 6 C's, women: community, courage, contribution, creativity, compassion, and curiosity. Probably I've got the order a little bit whacked out, but nonetheless, I want us to be dipping into all of those C's at some point in our days and our weeks and our lives, in order to come into the fullness of all we were meant to be, which I think is a huge, huge presence in our lives. I thank you so much, Gail Zelitzky and Catherine Marienau. You have been amazing lights that have shone on our community with your wisdom and your compassion. We appreciate and applaud both of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
For having me.
So thank you for being with us, and thank you for joining with us on the We Can Do It Women show. And remember, I see you. I value you. And your greatest chapter is just beginning. So if today's episode sparked something in you, I invite you to check out our Wealth and Wellness Luxury Retreat, where we're going to continue to be in community with women in the south of France. This is going to be October 25th through November 1st, and it's a wonderful chateau. And we are going to learn about investment strategies that I'm learning about that are absolutely eye-poppingly return on investment worthy. We're going to cultivate wealth and creativity together, and you're going to leave knowing step by step how to make your own money. I'm not going to give you a fish, show you how to make money. So let's treat ourselves. It's tax deductible. This will be a return on your investment for sure. And this will be a coalescing of women of like mind, much like the women of like mind that are attracted to the work of Gail and Catherine. So join us. If you're not a member of the We Can Do It Women Facebook community page, become a member, share it with your friends. And until next time, I am Debra Morrison reminding you it's never too late to shine, and pay attention to your money and it will surely pay you back. Thank you and good day.
Thank you.